Ever wondered what it's like to take your final bow? Can you imagine your last moments being captured on film or witnessed by a cheering audience? For these 10 celebrities, the show literally became their final act. Number 10. Owen Hart. Did you know a WWE event turned deadly in 1999? Owen Hart, the beloved professional wrestler known as the Blue Blazer, was performing a spectacular entrance from the rafters of the Kemper Arena in Kansas City. The stunt required him to be lowered from the ceiling in a superhero-like descent. As thousands of fans watched in anticipation, something went horribly wrong. The quick-release harness malfunctioned prematurely. Hart plummeted nearly 80 feet, landing chest first on the top rope. The impact was catastrophic. At just 34 years old, Hart was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the hospital due to internal bleeding from blunt force trauma. The most shocking part: the pay-per-view event Over the Edge continued after Hart's fall. Many audience members initially thought it was part of the show until announcer Jim Ross informed viewers at home about the legitimate accident. The WWE, then WWF, faced intense criticism for continuing the show, a decision that haunts wrestling history to this day. Hart's legacy lives on through his family's wrestling dynasty and the Owen Hart Foundation established by his widow Martha. Number 9. Jon-Erik Hexum. Can a blank gun really kill someone? In 1984, Jon-Erik Hexum, a rising television star working on the set of Cover Up, learned this lesson in the most tragic way possible. During a delay in filming, the handsome 26-year-old actor was bored and decided to joke around with a prop gun loaded with blanks. Unaware of the deadly force even blank cartridges can generate, Hexum put the gun to his temple and pulled the trigger. Though no bullet was fired, the blank still discharged paper wadding with enough force to fracture his skull. The impact drove a piece of bone the size of a quarter into his brain, causing massive hemorrhaging. Despite emergency surgery, Hexum was declared brain dead 6 days later. His organs were donated, saving several lives in the process. His heart went to a 36-year-old Las Vegas man. The show Cover Up continued with another actor, but Hexum's death forever changed Hollywood's approach to firearm safety on set. Decades before similar incidents would rock Hollywood, his tragic accident served as a stark reminder that prop doesn't always mean safe. Number 8. Steve Irwin. What happens when your life's passion becomes your cause of death? Steve Irwin, the wildly enthusiastic Australian known worldwide as the Crocodile Hunter, built his career around close encounters with dangerous animals. His energetic catchphrase, "Crikey," and fearless approach to wildlife made him a global icon. On September 4, 2006, while filming a documentary called Ocean's Deadliest in Queensland, Australia, Irwin was swimming in chest-deep water near a stingray. In a freak occurrence, the stingray felt threatened and whipped its tail, driving its barbed stinger directly into Irwin's chest, piercing his heart. Crew members pulled him back onto the main boat and attempted emergency first aid, but the damage was catastrophic. Irwin reportedly removed the stinger himself before losing consciousness, telling his cameraman, "I'm dying," before he passed away. He was just 44 years old. The footage of his death was so disturbing that most of it was destroyed at the family's request, though it had been reviewed by authorities. Irwin left behind his wife Terry and 2 young children, Bindi and Robert, who have since carried on his conservation legacy at Australia Zoo. His untimely death sent shockwaves around the globe, with fans leaving flowers, khaki shirts, and messages at Australian embassies worldwide. Number 7. Brandon Lee. Have you heard about Hollywood's most infamous cursed movie? Brandon Lee, son of martial arts legend Bruce Lee, was following in his father's footsteps with his breakthrough role in The Crow. The dark fantasy film seemed poised to launch the 28-year-old actor into superstardom. On March 31, 1993, during filming in Wilmington, North Carolina, a scene called for Lee's character to be shot as he entered an apartment. The prop gun used was supposed to fire blanks, but due to a series of critical errors, a real bullet had become lodged in the barrel from a previous scene. When the blank was fired, it propelled the bullet into Lee's abdomen with the same force as a live round. The crew initially thought Brandon was still acting when he fell. It wasn't until they realized he wasn't getting up that they rushed to his aid. Despite emergency surgery, Lee died from his injuries after 6 hours of surgery. With most of the film already complete, The Crow was finished using special effects and stand-ins, becoming a cult classic after its posthumous release. The eerie parallels between the film's resurrection theme and Brandon's own death created a mystique around The Crow that persists to this day. The tragedy also fed into the lore of the Lee family curse, coming 20 years after his father Bruce Lee's equally mysterious death at age 32. Number 6. Vic Morrow. Can a Hollywood stunt go so wrong that lives are lost? In 1982, veteran actor Vic Morrow was filming a scene for Twilight Zone, the movie, directed by John Landis. The Vietnam War sequence required Morrow to carry 2 Vietnamese children across a river while helicopters flew overhead, creating a chaotic wartime atmosphere. What happened next would change Hollywood forever. Around 2:30 a.m. on July 23rd, pyrotechnic explosions damaged one of the helicopters, causing it to spin out of control and crash. The main rotor blades decapitated Morrow and one of the children, 7-year-old Micah Dinla, while the second child, 6-year-old Renee Shin Yi Chen, was crushed by the helicopter's falling fuselage. The horrific accident occurred in front of a crew of over 100 people. Even more disturbing, the children were working illegally after hours without permits, and safety regulations had been ignored to get the complex shot. The tragedy resulted in one of Hollywood's most famous court cases, with director Landis and 4 others facing charges of involuntary manslaughter. Though all were ultimately acquitted, the incident led to sweeping reforms in filming safety protocols and child labor laws in the entertainment industry. Morrow, who had been a respected actor for decades and the star of the popular TV series Combat, never lived to see his final performance. The scene that cost him his life was reconfigured and included in the final film using footage shot before the accident. Number 5. Red Fox. Did you know that sometimes life imitates art in the cruelest way? Comedy legend Red Fox, famous for his portrayal of junk dealer Fred Sanford in Sanford and Son, often faked heart attacks in his signature routine, clutching his chest and calling out "I'm coming, Elizabeth" to his deceased TV wife. On October 11, 1991, Fox was rehearsing for his new sitcom, The Royal Family, when he suddenly collapsed on set. Cast and crew initially thought he was doing his famous heart attack routine, laughing as Fox fell to the floor. It was only when the 68-year-old comedian didn't get up that they realized something was terribly wrong. Despite being rushed to the hospital, Fox died that evening from a heart attack. In a tragic irony, the man who had made millions laugh by pretending to have heart attacks died from the very condition he'd joked about for years. Even more poignantly, his final words were reportedly, "Get my wife," as he reached out to nearby actors, echoing his famous catchphrase. Although he'd been one of America's highest-paid TV stars in the 1970s, financial troubles with the IRS had left Fox nearly broke when he died. His funeral was paid for by his longtime friend Eddie Murphy. The comedy pioneer who broke racial barriers in entertainment passed away doing what he loved most, making people laugh, though the final joke came at far too high a price. Number 4. Tyrone Power. What happens when your heart gives out during the fight scene of your life? Hollywood heartthrob Tyrone Power was filming a dueling sequence for the movie Solomon and Sheba in Madrid, Spain, on November 15, 1958. The swashbuckling scene required intense physical exertion as Power, playing King Solomon, fought against George Sanders. After performing a particularly strenuous sequence of choreographed swordplay in the scorching heat, the 44-year-old actor suddenly clutched his left arm and collapsed on set. Power was immediately transported to the hospital, but was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The official cause was a massive heart attack. What many don't know is that Power had been warned about his heart condition prior to filming and had even experienced chest pains in the weeks before his death. The actor's dedication to his craft, or perhaps his unwillingness to show weakness, led him to push through despite these warning signs. The film was nearly complete at the time of his death, but the studio made the decision to reshoot Power scenes with Yul Brynner replacing him. In his final moments on film, which were not used in the final cut, viewers can see Power appearing visibly strained and pale, unknowingly showing the first signs of the heart attack that would claim his life moments later. Power, who had served as a Marine pilot in World War II and was known for performing his own stunts, died as dramatically as many of the characters he portrayed on screen. Number 3. Tiny Tim. Can your signature song become your final farewell? Herbert Colliery, better known by his stage name Tiny Tim, had enchanted and bewildered audiences for decades with his falsetto voice and ukulele rendition of Tiptoe Through the Tulips. The eccentric performer with long hair and white makeup had been a regular on Johnny Carson's Tonight Show and a true American original. On November 30th, 1996, the 64-year-old performer was playing at a charity gala in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Having suffered from heart problems for years, including a heart attack in 1996, Tiny Tim had been advised by doctors to stop performing. But as he told his wife, "If I'm going to die, I'd rather die on stage." Those words proved prophetic. After performing his iconic hit, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, Tiny Tim suffered a heart attack right on stage. He managed to finish the song but collapsed shortly afterward while his wife Susan watched from the audience. He told her, "I'm not feeling well," before losing consciousness. Despite being rushed to the hospital, he never regained consciousness and was pronounced dead an hour later. The performer's wish to die doing what he loved became a reality, and fittingly, his unusual falsetto rendition of Tiptoe Through the Tulips was both the song that made him famous and the last he would ever perform. In true showbiz tradition, Tiny Tim's final bow was taken quite literally as the curtain closed on his remarkable life. Number 2. Harry Parkiakarkis. Have you ever heard of the comedian who got a standing ovation after he died? Harry Einstein, who performed under the stage name Parkiakarkis, was a popular radio comedian known for his Greek dialect routines. On November 24, 1958, the 54-year-old performer was the hit of the Friars Club roast for Lucille Ball and Dacey Arnaz in Los Angeles. After delivering a side-splitting routine that had the star-studded audience roaring with laughter, Parkiakarkis returned to his seat at the dais between Milton Berle and Art Linkletter. As the next performer took the microphone, Einstein suddenly slumped onto Berle's shoulder. Thinking quickly, Berle lowered him to the floor while Linkletter announced, "Is there a doctor in the house?" There were actually several, including 3 heart specialists who rushed to Einstein's aid. They performed CPR right there on the banquet floor while the audience was cleared from the room. Despite their efforts, Einstein had suffered a massive heart attack and was pronounced dead at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel before he could be transported to a hospital. The tragedy took an even more surreal turn when Milton Berle, trying to console Einstein's wife, famously said, "At least he went out with a big laugh." The comedian's death cast a pall over what had been a celebration of comedy. His sons would go on to entertainment careers of their own, actor-director Albert Brooks and comedian Bob Einstein, known as Super Dave Osborne. In a bizarre twist of Hollywood fate, Harry Park had just delivered the performance of his life, moments before his death. Number 1. Molière. Would you believe one of history's greatest playwrights literally died performing his own work? Jean-Baptiste Poquelin, better known by his stage name Molière, was not only 17th century France's most celebrated comic playwright but also a renowned actor who starred in many of his own works. On February 17, 1673, while performing in The Imaginary Invalid, a satirical play he wrote about hypochondria, Molière was suffering from a genuine illness. The 51-year-old playwright had been coughing blood and was visibly unwell, but in true theatrical tradition, he insisted the show must go on despite his friends urging him to cancel. During the 4th performance of the play, while playing the hypochondriac lead character Argan, Molière was seized by a coughing fit on stage. Ever the professional, he disguised the episode as part of his performance, and the audience roared with laughter, thinking it was part of the comedy. He managed to finish the performance but collapsed shortly afterward and began coughing blood. Molière was carried to his home where he died a few hours later, likely from tuberculosis. Because he was an actor, a profession not highly regarded by the church, and had not renounced his theatrical profession on his deathbed, he was initially denied a Christian burial. It took the personal intervention of King Louis XIV to allow Molière to be buried in consecrated ground, albeit at night and without ceremony. The supreme irony of Molière's death, playing a hypochondriac while actually dying, has made his passing one of the most famous in theatrical history. Even now, 350 years later, French actors consider it bad luck to wear the color green or say the word Molière in a theater, preferring instead to call him Le Grand Homme, the great man. Has any other performer's death been so perfectly, tragically fitting to their life's work? Do these tragic final curtain calls make you wonder how your own last performance might unfold?